After quite literally more than a decade of waiting, Dodge has finally released their first new vehicle in quite some time, and the brand's first vehicle with a plug. They're bringing back the Hornet for 2023. Although I suppose bringing back is a little bit of a tricky statement, since the last time the Hornet badge was used on a vehicle in North America, it was an AMC, and that was before the Chrysler Corporation purchased AMC. It's never been used on a Dodge before, but it sort of makes sense when you think about it, because the Hornet was the vehicle that AMC used to pioneer a number of different alternative drivetrains, including a gasoline turbine, some early direct injection technology, and even an EV. Yes, definitely an EV ahead of its times, but an EV nonetheless, called the Electrosport. But this Hornet is quite different. It's a compact crossover, although it really is somewhere between subcompact and compact in the United States. This is size-wise right in the in-between between a Jeep Compass and a Jeep Cherokee, with which this shares shockingly nothing. And that's because the Dodge Hornet is going to be the almost American sister of the very Italian Alfa Romeo Tonale. Interesting twist, this is going to be the only Dodge not made in North America. It's going to be manufactured in the Italian factory right alongside the Alfa Romeo Tonale, because these two vehicles are going to be sharing quite a lot. And like the Alfa Romeo, even though this is a front-wheel drive based vehicle with a transverse engine, Dodge is really focusing on performance and handling. They're saying this is going to have the most base power in the segment, and that is certainly believable, thanks to a standard 2-liter turbocharged engine. It's also going to have a lot of optional power with the plug-in hybrid system available, and they're claiming it's going to have best-in-class lateral acceleration of 0.9 Gs. Those are definitely some strong claims. Exactly how that pans out depends on exactly what you want to compare the Dodge Hornet to, but it is going to be priced pretty affordably, under $30,000 they're claiming, with standard all-wheel drive, standard 2-liter turbocharged engine, and most of the basic safety systems that you might expect, including the lane departure warning system, autonomous emergency braking, and blind spot monitoring. But if you want features like more aggressive lane centering and adaptive cruise control, you'll have to pay a little bit extra for those. Let's talk about the drivetrains first, because I think these are going to be key to understanding how the Hornet fits in the landscape. There are going to be two different trims, GT and RT, pretty much in line with the rest of the Dodge lineup. The GT is going to be the model with the Hurricane 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. It's going to produce at least 265 horsepower according to Dodge and 295 pound-feet of torque. It's going to be mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission, basically the same one that we find in a wide variety of other Chryslers, and it's going to have all-wheel drive standard for under $30,000. If you want better fuel economy, a faster 0 to 60 time, and more oomph, then you want the plug-in hybrid RT trim. That is going to use a 1.3-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine combined with 2 electric motor units. There's a belt alternator starter unit up front that's good for about 44 horsepower, and then a approximately 121 horsepower electric motor on the rear axle. That is definitely more powerful than the E-motor that we find, for instance, in the back of a RAV4 hybrid. That's going to give you a combined 285 plus horsepower, no final figure on that one, and 383 pound-feet of torque. They're claiming that's going to go 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds. That 0 to 60 sprint is slower than the RAV4 Prime, but still pretty good for a subcompact vehicle. And again, size-wise, this appears to be a little bit closer to something like a Kia Seltos on the inside, or perhaps a Mazda CX-30, something along those lines. Definitely a lot of power compared to that set. Everything is going to be driven by a 15.5 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack that's active heated and active cooled. There's going to be a just over 7 kilowatt onboard charger. They say it's going to be able to charge that battery in a little over 2 hours if you have access to the right EVSE. So pretty swift 0 to 60 times, pretty swift charging times, and about 30 miles of all-electric range. What's interesting about the RT model is it's not just a plug-in vehicle, but it's also trying to be a performance vehicle, just as you'd expect from Dodge. Dodge is really focusing on performance. A lot of folks had expected that maybe that would change with some of their newer vehicles coming on the scene, but it doesn't really appear to be so. Interesting twist with the RT version, Brembo brakes are going to be standard all the way around, and there's going to be a track-focused package. Yes, you heard that right, a track pack on a front-wheel drive biased all-wheel drive performance crossover. I'm kind of getting some perhaps SRT neon vibes or something like that, perhaps from some of the design philosophy around this vehicle. Exactly how this pans out in person, I will be really interested to see, but again, some pretty big claims here. Pretty quick 0 to 60 times. Those may change as things actually get along towards production, and definitely really excellent handling figures. The suspension is basically borrowed out of the Alfa Romeo Tonale, as is a lot of the interior. Let's take a look at these interior shots. You can see that if I put the interior picture of the Tonale right next to the interior picture of this Hornet, you'll definitely see a family resemblance here. Standard on all versions of the Hornet is going to be basically the same infotainment and nav system that we find in the Tonale. This is the latest Uconnect 5 system from the entire Stellantis portfolio, so related to what we find in the latest Jeep Grand Cherokee. The instrument cluster is going to be a 12.3-inch LCD standard in every trim, and then we're going to get a just over 10-inch infotainment system in the center of the dashboard. Both of these parts are shared with the Alfa, but the software does appear to be different. And by different, I'm really just talking about the look and feel, because the core architecture behind everything is common with all the latest Jeep models. The steering wheel definitely appears to be right out of that Alfa, but with a few changes. We don't find the start-stop button on the steering wheel. Instead, they've moved that down to the center console, where Alfa has a slightly different button bank. But a lot of the dashboard components are shared directly with that Alfa. I'm really going to be intrigued to see what the Tonale looks like in person. I will actually be seeing it really shortly here, so be sure and stay tuned for that video. If everything is price appropriate for the Tonale, which is priced like an Audi Q3 or a BMW X1 and X2, then the Hornet may feel really quite premium. It appears to share a lot of the buttons and switches, shifters, components, things like that, and the steering wheel and steering column with that Alfa pretty directly, but the dashboard is styled definitely to make it look more like a Dodge. There's still a lot of things that we don't know about the new Hornet. For instance, Dodge is saying that there's going to be a new Sting mode with the plug-in hybrid version that's going to give you a lot of extra power for about 15 seconds. And they claim that's going to take about a second off the 0 to 60 time. The question I have is, does that make the 0 to 60 time 6.1 seconds, or does that drop that all the way down to around 5 seconds, at which point it actually could be just about as fast as a RAV4 Prime for theoretically a little bit less money. Now, about that less money part, we don't know exactly how much the plug-in hybrid is going to cost, but we do know that because it's going to be manufactured in Italy with battery origins unknown, it is not going to qualify for the new federal tax credit under the latest tax credit scheme. So certainly keep that in mind if you're looking at a plug-in hybrid and you really want that credit. As of the signing of that bill, there's not going to be a lot in terms of plug-in hybrids that are going to qualify for that credit, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen as far as production goes, whether production might be moved to the United States to try and take advantage of that later. But we do know that you'll actually be able to order your Hornet starting tomorrow, the day after you're watching this video. Deliveries are going to start in early 2023, with the plug-in hybrid system coming a little bit later, sometime around spring. So, interestingly, right about the same time that we're going to see the Alfa Romeo Tonale on sale in the US. If everything goes well, I will be driving the Hornet and the Alfa Romeo Tonale before the end of the year, so be sure and stay tuned for those videos. I'm really intrigued to see exactly what the Hornet is like out on the road. Early reports have indicated that the Tonale drives really well. A lot of complaints early focused simply on the European-only drivetrains, which are much less powerful than what we're going to find in America, either in this or in the Alfa. One of the unexpected twists with the Hornet and the Tonale is that the Hornet is going to be the more powerful option. And that's not something we normally see where we have a mainstream and a luxury cousin thing going on there. Generally speaking, the luxury option is the more powerful, but that's not the case here. It looks like the Dodge is going to be about 10 to 20 horsepower more powerful, depending on exactly how these two vehicles are configured. Again, exact details are going to be coming over the next few months, so be sure and stay tuned for those videos. Let me know what you think about the look of the Hornet down there in the comments section. From the front, it definitely looks different from the Alfa, but you move around to the side and it looks an awful lot like the Alfa, and definitely different than any Dodge currently on sale in the US. I'm really going to wait to see what this looks like in person, because I'm not the biggest fan of the rear 3/4 shot, although I do think that right on from the rear end design looks pretty good. It does not have the racetrack tail lamps, however, that Dodge has been known for a while. Instead, it just has more of a single line that hops and bops around. Let me know what you think about all that down there in the comments section, and of course, be sure and stay tuned for the full reviews just as soon as those can come up. Find me over at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those social places, and I'll see all of you next week.